Hello and welcome to the Backyard Machine Shop. Guys, we're working on the shaper again. Made some decisions of how I was going to proceed forward, and really and truly, when I first started work on this machine, I want to do it right. I want to make it presentable and how it was the day it came out of the factory. Well, and that may still happen. But for right now, what I've decided to do, I'm going to go ahead and do some preliminary machine work on it. I'm going to get it to a point to where it'll work, and we're going to set it up, check it out, and to see what it really needs. Now, if you go back to the last video, which was John Doe number 2, you've seen some measurements. I've taken measurements across several places, and there's some considerable wear in the machine. Now, however, with this machine, it's so simple. It's not like a bedway or something like that. So the wear was pretty well even throughout the machine. The biggest thing was the ram. On the last couple inches of the ram, there was about a 10,000th difference in thickness. The rest of the ram looked pretty good. Now, we've taken it and we put it on a surface plate and we indicated it. Now, I've taken this thing and put it on 2 surface plates and my mill table, and I have not been able to stick a 1.5 shim under it. I mean, I've got my feeler gauges here, and we haven't been able to put a 1.5 under it except for one little place about 1 inch long. So I know the bottom's worn, but apparently it's worn pretty even. So we've went ahead and decided to do some machine work, and I'm going to take this over to the mill in a few minutes and show you what I'm going to do. But the reason for that is I put it back together and it slides, okay? And I put it back together. I was going to assemble the whole machine and see how it works. Well, got some travel in it, and we don't have anything really tight. If I tighten it all the way up, it locks it up real bad about 2 inches from the end. So I just wanted to take some measurements, and I took my feeler gauges and I come in here and I check clearance between, and I'm calling these the Gibbs. Basically, they're the way covers, but the way they're machined, there's a little step in them that rides on the top of that ram, and it's kind of like a Gib. It kind of keeps it in position, takes out the wear. They may be a little adjustable, I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm calling these the upper Gibbs or way covers, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, if I tighten them all the way down, it would still move up to about 2 inches in that end, and then it would lock up, and I would actually have to loosen that Gib up to get it to move again. Now, I've come in and checked it here, and I've got like 9,000ths clearance between the top of the ram and the Gib on this end, and about the same on this end in this position. Now, of course, when you pull it out to here, you have 0 clearance because it's actually forcing itself into a wedge. So what I've decided to do is, since I've got a pretty flat bottom and the actual weight inside the casting is worn even, I'm going to take this ram out and I'm going to take it over to the mill, and we're going to do a little bit of machine work to it and at least make it even, and then we're going to go from there. We might put it together and get it running and see how things check out, and then we'll work from that. I'm not going to paint it, and I'm not going to do anything like that. We're basically going to trial and error and test fit this machine until we get it right. Now, is this machine ever going to be the perfect shaper? No. The reason I'm rebuilding this machine is, I get a lot of emails or text messages, or not text, but 3, 2, 1, go. Well, I get a lot of messages saying why I mess with this machine. Well, guys, it may be the only one left like this, and it needs to be in a museum somewhere. Does it need to be in a shop making a living? No, it's never going to do that. So the whole reason to rebuild this machine and get it back running is not so much to make perfectly flat pieces of metal, but it's to have an example of industry in the past. And it's part of history. Like I said, it may be the only example ever out there of this machine, and it's a good chance it is. So the second reason for doing this is it's an educational process, learning to fit things correctly to make them work and to see how good you can get it. It's a challenge. It's all it is. It's an education of challenge. I have no, in all honesty, would I go out and spend a bunch of money on this shaper other than rebuilding it? No. I mean, it's just what it is. It's a challenge to make these things work again, and that's what I like to do. Now, you know, I understand that some people out there rather, you know, spend thousands of dollars on something that's pristine condition and want to use it in their shop and make a living with it. That's all cool. I got machines in here I can do that with. So the reason, like I said, the reason that I'm going through the trouble with this machine and the other machines, the hacksaws, and you know, they were left in the field for 40 years and they were there, you know, they could have went to the scrapper, but nobody scrapped them. You know, they may be, like I said, the last examples of that machine. And so one day, you know, maybe they'll go into a museum somewhere where my grandchildren and great-grandchildren and your great-grandchildren will be able to see what our great-grandparents, the technology of their day. So, I mean, that's what it is. And it's just passing down the lineage. You know, that heritage, you know, yes, it's part of the American heritage, but, you know, it's part of everybody's heritage. We're not going to ever make this the everybody wants machine. This is going to be an example, a museum piece, a representation of the past, and that's all it's ever going to be. So, you know, I'm going to do what I can to make it work. Now, should I machine it like I'm going to machine it? I don't know what else to do. I've talked to Brian Block. Brian's agreed to machine the base casting for me, and but I can't get it to him for 2 or 3 months. So I'm gonna put this together, get it running, see how it does, and then me and him will have an idea what we need to do if we need to machine that base casting. So again, it's just for fun. It's an educational thing. It's part of, again, it's part of our history as an industry. You know, the Industrial Revolution, and you know, it's what it is. So, you know, it ain't, like I said, it ain't ever going to be a perfect machine. It's going to be a display. So with that said, we're going to take this thing back apart and we're going to take it over to the mill, and I'm going to set it up, and we're going to do some machine work to it. So what we're doing now is we're setting up the shaper ram, and again, I've talked about this before about finding a surface that's a non-wear surface. Now, on the shaper, on the ram, this is our non-wear surface, okay? So this is our registered surface, and the reason I say that is this is the gib side of the ram. So the gib is forcing the ram over along this surface here, okay? And while it's doing that, this surface is not in contact with that way on the top, that way cover. And so it's a virgin surface. It's never had any wear, and this is the surface we're going to use to indicate in the ram itself. All right, so what we're going to do is we're coming in, we've got our little indicator set up. Let's see, back off. We're going to come in here, maybe crank it up. Well, that's as far as we're going to have to kind of read it on the top. Sorry about that. Okay, and let's lock this down and bring this out. We're going to bring it up to 0. Make sure we're not dragging anywhere. All right, so our surface, let's get it at 0 here, all the way over, and our travel. All right, so we're at 0 right there, and then we're going to run it to the other end. And you can see some little imperfections in it. All right, so we're about 3/1000 positive on this side. So let's loosen this bolt. Just like, this is just like dialing in a vise. I think we have to use another indicator. I'm riding up on the surface up here and it's kind of rough. Let's see, just cock this one just a little bit. There we go. Now we're down on the surface I want to be on. So, all right, guys. So we've indicated this ram in. Now along the face here is where I got it. It's indicated square here. Running down the length of it, it's maybe 3 or 4 thousandths. But let's look at this. This is probably the best surface to indicate on. Okay, so we look like we may be off a tenth or two, but that's good enough. So we've got this area square with the the mill. I indicated all of these surfaces. This surface is pretty worn. This surface ain't too bad. There's about a 5 thousandths, and it's hard to say. It's 3 to 5 thousandths right in here of a hump. Now this surface here doesn't wear on anything, so it should be pretty true to the original. But from here to here, we're out about 1 thou with this surface there. So this is where we're going to set up. First thing we're going to do, we got a 3/4, or looks like a 1-inch end mill with a 3/4 shank in here. Now I'm having to use this long end mill. I don't really want to, but we're only cutting about 15 thousandths on this, and so it's really not going to be, any heavy cuts. But I had to get something long enough to where I could get down in here next to this shoulder, this head. So this is the best option I came up with. I got it in a collet, and this thing has a really long shank on it, so it's up in the collet, the full length of it, maybe an inch, inch and a quarter up in the collet. So it looks like it's hanging down out of the collet, but it's not. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in and machine this surface first, and we'll drop it, come into the back, and we'll machine that same surface in the back. And we'll come up and we'll just kiss along this surface. I can't get out far enough here to kiss this surface. If I could, I would indicate this surface in, you know, trim it and then flip it over and indicate it. But I can't get far enough out to do that with the setup we got. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to take this indicator off. Alright, looks like we got clearance everywhere. Let's start up the mill. Get some safety glasses. All right, so that's going to be our So now we're touching that shoulder, saying we're as far back as we want to go. Alright, so we're going to set Z0. And we're going to feed. Like I said, it's no longer cutting now. This is where that dip was. You remember when we measured it, we were about 2 thousandths low right in here. So I knew that was going to come up. And we're going to make this pass, and this is telling me exactly what we were looking at in the other video when we was measuring this. So like I said, I just skimmed the top. we've made our first pass. Let me bring you over here and show you. Okay, if you look, we cleaned up here, and then here it's not cleaned up, and then it's cleaned up back here. So there's that little dip that we saw on our indicator, okay? All right, so what we're doing now is we've come up 8.5 thousandths, and that should take that out and clean all of that up and make it a nice that'll be 10 thousandths overall cut. It should have a nice finish, and then we'll come back and make a pass and clean that edge up. So he's way too high. We're starting to clean up this face here. We've got this one where we want it. And we're starting to clean up on this face here, this 90. We just don't skim it. We don't want to take a whole lot off. If you look back there, you can see where we're cleaning it up. All right, guys. So we finished with side one, or this side of it, the Gibbs side. We got a little chatter right here because that's not a center cutting end mill for one thing. But I took off about a thou and a half, maybe 2 thousandths right in here, and it cleaned all the way up. So our indicators were right. We had a little bow right in there, and other than that, she cleaned right up. So we know that we square here now. The only thing I wish I'd probably come in and used a bull mill to cut a radius down in this pocket, but there wasn't one there on the other one. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to set our zero on our DRO. All right, so we ended up taking about 8.5 thousandths off on this side. So we're going to unlock our table without okay, and we're going to move our cutter to the back and work on the back side. Okay, we leave everything else right where it's at. Let me clean off some of this dust. All right, guys, so we're gonna come in now and we've machined both sides. Now we've switched to a shorter end mill, and we're gonna come in here and machine out this surface. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna machine a pocket here in the middle and back out, move my bolts, or move a bolt to here, take the other bolt out, and then I can machine the rest of it. Okay? We got it off the mill and got it over here on the shaper, and we're gonna see what we did. I got an indicator set up on the surface. Let's see if we can get this square for you guys that like zero. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna slide it back and forth. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me bring it in. So we're gonna slide it. Well, we got like 2 thousandths there. One and a half, 2 thousandths. Hold on, I don't think my arm's locked good. Let's try that again. So I'm picking up, is that me? So we're picking up about, let's see, I don't want it to fall out. So half a thou, this end is about 1.5 thou. So we got about 1 thou there. All right, let's see what we got here. Make sure we on the surface there. Yeah, that's what I thought. Hold on. All right, let's see. All right, so we go. Actually, if I hold it down, it stays at 0. But if I let it up, it picks up. So, looks like we're in pretty good shape. At least we got a fighting chance now. So, get it running. I did this machine work here. I got a couple other things we got to machine, and then we'll get it running. So we're going to take it one step at a time. The next thing we're going to machine would be the two caps that go up here. We got to make an adjustment for this offset now. So guys, again, thank you. Till next time, goodbye.